Good afternoon, everyone. Virgo, something is being proposed, not in words yet, not in the direct, clearly stated, here is what I want and here is what I am asking way that would make everything simple and clear and easy to respond to. In the other way, the charged, loaded, this is about more than it is being presented as, way that certain invitations arrive, when the person extending them cannot yet say the full truth of what they are extending. They want to see you, and the wanting, the specific quality of it, the weight it carries, the particular kind of need that is underneath the casual framing is the thing they are hoping you will feel without them having to name it directly. Take what is yours today. What resonates, hold it. What does not, release it gently. But for those of you who felt something recognizable when I said they want to meet up, who felt the specific, complicated, is this what I think it is quality of someone trying to decide how much to read into an invitation. This is entirely for you. Read into it. That is the first thing Spirit brought through when I sat with this collective's energy today. Before the explanation, before the context, before anything that would make the reading feel earned rather than simply received just that. Read into it because what you have been cautiously, self protectively, let me not make assumptions about this resisting reading into is exactly what it is. The surface of the invitation does not contain the full truth of what is underneath it. And the full truth of what is underneath it is considerably more significant than the surface. Soft sigh. Let me speak about the nature of this particular kind of wanting to meet, because there is a spectrum, and everyone who has navigated the complicated geography of human connection knows this between a casual, let us get together invitation and an invitation that carries within it the full weight of something that needs to be said in person. That cannot be said through the mediated, at a distance, manageable channels of text or call or any of the other mechanisms we use to communicate when we want to retain some control over our own exposure. That requires the specific and irreplaceable quality of physical presence, of being in the same room, breathing the same air, with nowhere to hide from the full reality of what exists between two people when the distance is removed. This invitation is at the far end of that spectrum, not casual, not the comfortable, low stakes, nothing significant will happen here kind of meeting that uses the language of casualness to avoid the pressure of declaration. Something considerably more intentional than that. Something that has been thought about carefully over time with the specific quality of attention that belongs to someone who understands that the meeting they are proposing is not really about the meeting. It is about what the meeting makes possible. What can happen in person that cannot happen from a distance? What truth can be spoken face to face that the managed, mediated alternatives have not been able to carry? Now hear them speaking, because This voice has been pressing forward since the beginning of this reading and needs to reach you today. I want to see you. And I know how that sounds. I know it sounds simple and maybe even ordinary, the kind of thing people say without much weight behind it. But I need you to understand that when I say it, I mean something considerably more than the words contain. I mean that I have been sitting with things with the full, complicated, not easy to organize weight of everything I feel and everything I have not said and everything that has been building in me in the time since we were last genuinely present with each other. And I have arrived at the understanding that none of it can be moved forward from a distance. That whatever is going to happen between us, whatever the next true thing is, has to happen in person. Has to happen where I can see your face and you can see mine, and there is no buffer between what I am saying and what you are receiving. I am tired of the buffer. That is the honest version of why I want to meet. The buffer has been keeping things manageable and managed and at a size that fits in a text message or a phone call, and what I actually carry does not fit in any of those. It needs the room that only being in the same space creates. And I am finally ready to be in that space with you. Oh, feel that, because that is the truth of what is underneath the invitation, the specific, unmanaged, finally ready to stop managing truth of someone who has been carrying something that requires a different container than distance provides. And the invitation to meet is the first visible movement of that truth toward expression. The first concrete, real world step of someone who has made a decision in the private space of their own honest reckoning that the managing is over and something more real needs to begin. Let me speak about what this meeting carries the potential to produce, because I feel it in the energy of this collective with a clarity that I think matters for how you receive the invitation. Not so you arrive with expectations that create their own pressure, but so you arrive with the full, grounded awareness of what is actually at stake, which changes the quality of your presence in a way that serves what is possible rather than diminishing it. This meeting carries the potential for honesty that the distance has been preventing. Real honesty, the kind that requires two people to be in the same room, looking at each other without the editing that physical separation makes so easy. The kind where something that has been unspoken between you finally finds the conditions in which it can be spoken, where the weight that has been accumulating in the unsaid gets to become the said imperfectly, probably, because these things are almost never articulated exactly as they existed in the interior, but genuinely, actually, in the room between you rather than in the separate private spaces where each of you has been living with it alone. Soft sigh, and that honesty, the specific, finally in the open quality of two people being real with each other in person, has the potential to shift the entire dynamic of this connection. Not by resolving everything instantly, not by producing in one meeting the clarity that a longer process would more realistically generate, but by establishing something that was not established before, a new baseline, the specific, solid, we have been real with each other in person foundation that everything subsequent can actually be built on rather than the managed, at a distance, nothing fully said foundation that preceded it. Now I want to speak to you, to the person receiving the invitation, and trying to calibrate how to respond. Because there is a specific and important question living in the energy of this collective today that deserves to be addressed directly. The question of how much of yourself to bring to this meeting. All of it, that is the answer. Not the strategic, what do I reveal and when version of yourself that calculated exposure produces. Not the protected, 1 foot out the door version that maintains enough distance to survive disappointment if the meeting does not go the way you are hoping. Not the casual, nothing significant is happening version that pretends the meeting is ordinary when everything about it, the invitation itself, the quality of wanting underneath it, the potential of what honesty in person could produce is anything but. All of yourself, the full, present, this matters to me version that knows what it wants and is willing for the duration of this meeting to let that wanting be visible, not announced, not performed, simply present in the specific and irreplaceable way of someone who has decided that what is possible between two genuine people in an honest room is worth the exposure of being genuinely seen. Uh, because here is what Spirit is bringing through about the dynamic of this meeting, and this is the piece I feel most strongly for the people in this collective today. The person extending the invitation is already planning to bring more than the casual framing suggests, is already preparing in the private space of their own readying to be more honest than the managed distance has allowed them to be, is coming to this meeting with something they intend to say or do or show that goes considerably beyond the surface of the invitation. And that something, whatever specific form it takes when the meeting actually happens, deserves to be met. Not preempted, not managed before it can land, not received from behind the protective glass of someone who has decided in advance what the meeting can and cannot mean, met fully in the present, open, completely yourself way of someone who is genuinely there for what is actually happening rather than for a carefully controlled version of it. There is also something I want to say about the significance of the meeting being in person. Because I think it is easy to receive an invitation to meet without fully registering what the choice of in person represents, what it costs, what it reveals about the intention of the person proposing it. Distance is easier, always, for everyone, the managed, mediated, I can compose my response before sending quality of communication from a distance is available and it is comfortable and it allows a level of control over exposure that in person contact simply does not permit. This person is choosing to give that up, is proposing the less comfortable, less controlled, nowhere to hide alternative, not because it is easier, but because it is realer. Because whatever they have to say, whatever the meeting is actually about beneath the casual framing, requires the realness, cannot be adequately delivered through the comfortable distance, needs the room, needs your face, needs the specific and irreplaceable evidence of your actual presence to find its full expression. Soft sigh. That choice, the choice of in person with everything it gives up in terms of comfort and control, is itself a declaration. Before a word is spoken in the meeting, before whatever they have been preparing to say finds its moment, the choice to meet in person is already saying something. Something about the seriousness of what they are carrying toward you. Something about the respect they have for what is between you, for its size, for its significance, for the quality of honesty it deserves. Receive that declaration, not just the words that will follow it, the declaration itself, the choice, the intention, the decision to bring this into the real world rather than keeping it in the managed at a distance space where it has been living. Something is shifting between you. This meeting is not just a date. It is not even primarily a date in the conventional sense, two people getting together in the ordinary social rhythm of seeing each other. It is a threshold. The specific, deliberately chosen, this is where we stop managing and start being real threshold that marks the point where everything that was kept at a careful distance begins to be allowed into the shared space between you. Thresholds require crossing, not tentatively, not with one foot held back, with the full, committed, I am here entirely quality of someone who has decided that what is on the other side of this particular threshold is worth the vulnerability of crossing it completely. You are worth it. This connection is worth it. And the person who is proposing the meeting, who has been carrying something significant toward you and has chosen finally to close the distance enough to deliver it, has already decided that, has already made the calculation and arrived at the answer, has already crossed the internal threshold that makes the external one possible. Say yes. Not just to the meeting, to the full, honest, nothing managed potential of what the meeting carries, to the possibility that what happens in that room between two people who finally close the distance enough to be real with each other could be the beginning of something that the managed, at a distance version of this connection was never quite able to become something real, something proportionate to what has been building between you, something that deserves finally in person, in the room, with nowhere to hide and nothing to manage to be what it actually is. Go, be there completely, and trust that what meets you in that room is more than a casual date. It always was. If this reading found you at exactly the right moment, if something here named what you have been sensing about this invitation and gave you the clarity to receive it fully, stay close. Subscribe and come back. Because what unfolds from this meeting is a story worth following all the way through to its most honest and most complete chapter. And the next reading will be there for every step of what the room makes possible.